I'm gonna hop in.
All
And
right,
give you
here
a
we
thumbs
go.
up.
Welcome everyone, or bienvenidos. Today is Cinco de Mayo. We're celebrating here. Feliz Days. What is that? Cinco de Mayo. El Dia de Cinco de Mayo. I don't know. I'm butchering this. It's fine. I know a little Spanish. I'm trying to flex on you all, but I'm not doing a good job. Anyways, we are now into episode 10 of Splinter Talk. We actually hit double digits, which is crazy. So thank you all for being here to push us over the edge from 9 to 10. We have some amazing guests. Rogue as the return. I think you might actually be close to Steve. I don't know. I
think
need to
so.
actually go back and count all of them now because we need
Yeah,
to start a
so well, I'm
leaderboard.
sure everybody can in the chat. It's only 10 so far, right? Like, if somebody in the chat could give us a quick little leaderboard on where we're at, Jim, Steve, and me.
Yeah, it's always like we have two guests set up. I feel like I never ask you anymore. It's always have two guests, and I say anyone else want to come on, and Rogue is like out of the shadows. You just jump at it right away. I don't know.
I did it real quiet, like in the background. It was like a quick DM. It was just like, hey, like if nobody else fills it, I got you, bro.
Wink, wink.
Because I don't want to come on every time and be like, yeah, pick me, because like I like the idea that many other people come on, but I do love to talk.
Yeah, you do love to talk. We were joking before that you always push us to go longer than we should, but you know, it's great. I love it. You bring great thoughts, so thanks for coming back on. Two other new guests, though, here today. So, Luthien, I want you to go to first here. Introduce yourself. Where can people watch your stuff? And then I kind of want to hear your Splinterlands story. Like, what got you into Splinterlands? Where are you playing at right now? What rank are you? Give us a little in the life of Luthien, I guess. Here.
All right. Well, I'm Luthien. I stream on Twitch. I have my own Twitch channel, but I rarely stream on there right now. I've been streaming mostly for Splinterlands TV. So you can catch me on Saturdays at 8 p.m. Central Time on the Splinterlands TV channel. I really enjoy streaming there. So I stream for 2 hours every Saturday. I've been playing Splinterlands for 9 months now. I think that we found it through a Brave ad a long
Really?
time ago.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. My husband found it. Baron found it, and this was right after my mom died, and I was really like not in a good place. You know, it was hard to do anything. It was hard to get off the couch. It was just a very, very sad time for me. Very full of grief, of course, and. Baron found this game, and he's like, you know, he's always looking for ways to make money. And he's like, oh, here, I found this game. You want to try it? And I fell in love with it. And, you know, it gave me something to look forward to every day, something to get out of bed for. Like I would wake up, yes, I get to do my daily quest. You know, I wonder what I'm going to get today, you know, and that really, it gave me some purpose. And not that I didn't have purpose. I mean, I have kids and family and all that, but like it gave me something for me, something to do for myself, and a way to make money, you know, but most importantly, to have fun. And I met so many new people. I met friends from all over the world. And yeah, I just really fell in love with it. And now I'm playing in diamond level. I usually get to champ by the end of the season. Right now I'm kind of stuck in diamond, but yeah, so it's been a really great journey for me.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing and the vulnerability as well of sharing that story. It's really cool to hear. You know, I think in the nitty gritty of all of our arguments about Splinterlands and finances and blah blah blah, like it's just cool to think, you know, video games can help us through grieving, through hard times, right? They give a little joy and fun to our lives, and yeah, I appreciate that perspective in the story. That's a really cool background to how you got into Splinterlands. So thank you for sharing
For
that.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, next up, After Sound, the most famous YouTuber here around. Thank you for joining us. I love to hear from you as well. Same question. What's your story? How'd you get into Splinterlands? What are you doing now?
Oh god, I mean, I don't know how to respond to that. I don't even know how to follow up Luthien's. Luthien, I love that story. Obviously, I had read your post a while back about your mom, so again, condolences. But that's actually really, really cool to see that Splinterlands kind of has this really awesome place in your heart in terms of just, it's more than a game in some ways. For me, I guess like I'm just trying to get rich. I don't know.
The truth comes out.
Okay. So
How's that $300 gold Oshana's doing for you?
it's down to $60 now, man. It's down to
Sorry,
$60.
I had to do that to you. If you're gonna say I'm here for the
it's
money,
all good, man. Whether gold or not, O'Shaughnessy's is just the bane of my existence at this point. So
After sound, I bought a max level Oceanus just before this stream, and I thought of you.
Oh, just before the stream, I thought she was gonna like sympathize with you. Like I was also at the peak. She's like, nah, I was smart.
I just realized that if I bought a max level gold foil Oceanus right now, I would pay like 30-40% less than what I did for a single gold Oceanus back in the day. But hey, you know what? We all have that story. So we all have those cards in our catalog, and you know he treats me well. Actually, the funny thing is I don't even use him anymore. But I'm sure we'll get into like game meta stuff later. So I discovered the game after looking into P2E stuff after Axie blew up last year. And so there was just something cool about the idea that like people in developing parts of the world, and specifically like the Philippines. So my mom is from the Philippines. And so like it caught my attention that people in the Philippines were making like $25 a day playing a game. And like I'm big on this whole like crypto revolution. So it was cool for me to hear that. And I started exploring. I felt like I was too late to Axie. I found Splinterlands. I bought some DEC. I put it into the game. After one day, I realized that the airdrop APR was stupidly high, and I'd only bought like $30 worth of DEC, and I was just like, oh, okay, I need to like empty my bank account and buy only DEC. Then I watched this video on from Luke's channel where he's just like, if you're not spending all of your money and time in this game, you're gonna miss out. And so
I don't think that was me. I think you're thinking of Dwayne there, but okay.
But for real, Dwayne, Luke, and Bulldog were some of the early channels that I watched. So it's just kind of cool to be here and chatting with you guys. But yeah, it's been an interesting journey. Similar to Luthien, I started streaming on Twitch, and I had been streaming like Fortnite and other like FPS games on Twitch before, and it was the community that really kind of brought me in. I'm one of those people that came for the investment, stayed for the game, and then fell in love with the community. So it's one of those things where, you know, it's just been growing and developing. And as I've learned more and more, I can't be any more bullish about the game. But just like the rest of the community, it's frustrating to see how things have slowed down. But I'm currently playing in gold. I'm hoping to get to diamond once modern format comes out.
Yeah,
and it's been exciting. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad to have you guys on. And that's one of the fun things I love doing this show, is just to be able to meet some of you guys, because literally as we got into this call, I was like, Luthien, Aftersound, like this is the first time we got to actually chat. I mean, we've, messaged each other in Discord, but it's fun to actually
he didn't even talk about how he's the one that sings the songs at the end of every single lore video we've been getting. Like, I don't know if you guys picked up on his voice, but this is that man. Like, at the end of all the lore videos, this is him. He's the Bard of Praetoria.
Yeah. I mean, we got to talk about that. I mean, how did you get into that? Like, what was the process like?
Man, so
it was Chaos is here, right?
Chaos is here. Like I said, man, I just obviously gotten obsessed with this game. So I do music full time, and obviously the pandemic slowed things down. I wasn't touring, and that's kind of what allowed me to get into like crypto and gaming a little bit more and streaming on Twitch. And so, yeah, I don't know, like at some point, like I was just having a writing session, and I wasn't even thinking about Splinterlands, but of course I was always thinking about Splinterlands, and the song just kind of came together, and I put it out there, and I was like, I wanted to make something Splinterlands inspired, not like Splinterlands specific. So it's just Splinterlands inspired, which is the Chaos is Here song. And I was like, I just don't want them to come after me like legally if I'm like using their IP and like rapping about Grund, and because
Splinterlands will do that. They'll come for their IP for sure.
Well, you know what? I was just trying to play it safe. And then yeah. So I sent it to, some folks had sent it already, but I like sent it to Nate, and I was just like, here's a song I made. It's like Splinterlands inspired. Like if you want to use it for anything, feel free. Like, just a promotional material. Just credit me. And he came back to me, and he's just like, oh, this is really cool. He's like, would you like to write other songs for us? and like everybody else out there who's just like, oh, the idea of working for a video game company sounds awesome. That was my first thought too. So it's been kind of fun. I know I don't have any like inside information. I do get to chat with Nate once a week, which is kind of cool, but it's usually about the only like stuff that I get early is the lore. So I get to read about that, and then
big finance decisions coming from that, I'm sure.
Yeah,
those lore
exactly.
sneak peeks really tell you when to sell that SPS, doesn't it?
Definitely, man.
Are you actually part of the team, hired on? Is this like a contract thing? Are you full time, part time? How does that work?
It's a contract thing.
Okay,
so I guess, is that part time or contract? Yeah. So it's just like, now, like initially there were like some different kind of music elements that music things that they wanted to add to the game, and so it was more like these one-off projects. But they're going heavy into the lore, and I don't know, I love it. Like, it to me, like, this is one of those things where like lore at this point in time, and I hope it's okay for me to talk about this, but if not, then
sure, go for it.
Hopefully it's okay for me to talk about this, but like. Well, from the team's perspective, I mean, like for them, like lore right now isn't like what you would call like a revenue generating thing, right? It's not like they're making Netflix shows or putting out comics. Like, a lot of this is just literally trying to build out the IP. And to me, they've added so many people to the team. Like, Agorod isn't kidding, or whoever on the town hall isn't kidding when they say like, they've added so many people to the team. There's a lot of really talented folks there. I just get to saying a lot of this stuff so people know me, but there's a lot of other really talented folks there who are doing so much in terms of making the game experience better. And but yeah, I don't know. It's just really cool to see what they're doing as a company.
Yeah, I mean, we hadn't planned on talking about the lore, but I'd love to pick the brain of others here. So Rogue and Luthien, I'm curious from your guys' perspective, are you guys into the lore at all? Do you watch those videos? Do you care at all? Does it not matter? Do you love them?
Yeah, I do like the lore a lot. I have not recently been really diving into it, but in the past I have. Like, I read the whole lore encyclopedia that came out a while back, with the older cards and stuff. But the newer stuff, some of it I've read, but some of it I just haven't had a chance to, and I want to because I find it very interesting. So yeah, I think it's really neat, and I'm glad that they're getting into it more because it really brings the game alive,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from the physical trading card perspective, like, lore has been like the number one driving aspect to community building in a lot of trading card games, and so you need a solid character base, you need a solid storyline to buy people in, so that like in 6 years when you come back to something or a concept, you've created a sense of nostalgia, when you go back to it, giving examples like Magic the Gathering, going back to Ravnica, or coming around recently to Kamigawa. Like, that was huge. Like, I still, like, when I walk past it, I'm just like, ooh, because that was the set I was playing in high school. Like, when I was in high school, I had a Kamigawa like Betrayers starter deck, and we were playing after we were done at every class, right? And so like in stores, like, I'm just like, ooh, I don't even play Magic anymore, right? But I'm just like, I want to buy those because it's nostalgia, right? And so, but that's all character based, that's all lore based. It's essential for a trading card game. For me personally, I don't really dive into it too much, but I've started to with Splinterlands. One, I love the videos. I absolutely love listening. I think whoever's narrating that is doing a fantastic job and doing a good job of like visualizing and presenting like a nice story. I think the songs at the very end have been a nice add. But then even specifically like on the Share Your Battle post, I've started doing videos for the Share Your Battles, and part of my thing is like just giving like the card full attention. We talk about stats, but then I read the lore, and so like that's a cool thing. Like, now I'm going in and I'm reading the lore of every card and talking about these things, and it feels good. It feels really good to get into that stuff. But I think the music element is something that I'm most excited for, because I think it's the most unique that I've seen at this point. Like, music is so like it speaks to so many cultures. It's so a part of our of our DNA, of our life, and like, and so to have music, like somebody on Twitter, her name is Asaria Cat, just posted something on May 1st called Truth Speaker, music inspired by Splinterlands. It's like a techno trance ish. Like I'm terrible with all that stuff, so if that offended, but like I'm seeing more and more of this like music of Splinterlands, and I'm like, I'm excited for it. I want that so bad because I think it'll be revolutionary in terms of trading card games. You know,
I agree. I can't think of other trading card games that have like, I mean, I guess there's Pokemon. Pokemon had like the series, but there again, people connected to that, like, you know, to the Pokemon song, the intro, and I think that this could be really big with Splinterlands. Music is something that I feel very passionate about. I'm a musician myself, and I really love the way that music can transcend cultures, transcend languages. You can listen to a song in a language you don't understand, but it's like it speaks to your soul, you know? So that's something I really appreciate. And I think that, you know, that can really make the game come even more alive to those of us who play.
Yeah, I think it depends on what kind of gamer you are, because honestly, for me, sadly, you might hate me, but I'm one of those gamers who skips most of the cutscenes because I want to get to the action. I'm like, bro, please shut up. Let me hit pause, skip. Like, I'm sorry to do it to you guys, but, you know, I think it depends on what gamer you are. And my point is there that if Splinterlands wants to reach out to a broader audience, then that lore and story-driven characters things can be attractive to other gamers than just the finance or just I'm here for the, you know, strategy of it all. So I think it is really cool what they're doing. Hopefully they can build that out more and more, because honestly, while the lore videos are cool, you know, I don't think it's really going to bring in an audience, right? You know, like I watched Pokemon as a kid. Honestly, the latest thing that I've watched, obviously this is an unfair comparison, was Arcane from League of Legends, because that was like actually entertaining to me. There's so many video games that have tried to make content or movies or shows that have completely flopped. I mean, like for the last 20 years, how many can we actually think of that have successful entertainment outside of their video game? Probably not a ton, but if Splinterlands can pull it off, then I think that is an extra avenue that they can draw in more players, right? So I think that's cool, and obviously over time they can get, you know, more and more content out there. I'm assuming after Sound. Can you give us any sneak peeks? Reveal all the secrets.
Bust out guitar.
No, probably not.
Starts laying it down.
Look, the only thing I'll say about this, just like generally, is a lot of the like negative comments that I'll get right now, whether it's on Twitter or YouTube or whatever. You know, they'll be like, "Oh, this is a scam," like, you know, the devs are this or whatever, and, you know, the rug pull. And I'm just like, okay, like, I can understand for folks on the outside looking in, where you look at just the prices of the assets, you look at the prices of the tokens, and it's just like, okay, yeah, like what's going on, all the different delays, everything that's happening. So, you know, the position that I've been, or the privilege that I have right now, obviously seeing some of the inner workings behind the scenes. And again, it's not even anything to be like, oh, like this cool stuff is coming in the game. They're actually very transparent about that in the town halls. All I get to see is the fact that there's real people with real passion working to put like stuff like this together. And, you know, to Rogue's point about the music, it's not just the music, but all of the lore stuff in general. It's one of those things where there's this focus on a broader vision, and the team is not just committing, you know, time, energy, and resources, but really trying to develop this whole side of things out and cater to not just new people, but all the folks who are here now, right? Like, I was even thinking about, like, and this isn't necessarily lore, but like the Yoden and Kitty plushies coming out at some point, right? Those
can't wait for those.
Yeah, see, look, like you're gonna have folks that are like gonna be just loving those and repping those everywhere. So the IP, I feel like, is very powerful. And now they're actually going about and building a very cool narrative structure around the IP. So
yeah, no, I love to hear the opposite perspective, because we've had Stever on so many times, and he's like, "Stop it with the damn plushies! Like, give me my land, boys! Come on!"
No, that's hilarious. He had to hired another artist, win land.
Oh man,
Well-
I can't. If you bought land like early on, I can't imagine how frustrated you are right now.
Yeah,
It's been
right.
so-
No,
'cause
I totally understand.
like for me, my land is technically is actually modern format, right? I've been waiting for modern format since December, and I just don't see like when that's gonna happen. So for people who bought land and actually like paid for land back then, and it's still not out yet, I'm just like, I get it, dude. I get it.
Yeah. Well, this is a perfect segue because one thing, the main topic of tonight that I want to hash out with you is this whole talk in the Splinterlands town hall. I don't know if everyone saw it, but essentially, if you go back and watch it, there was a lot of talk of, hey, we have a lot of slow development right now in Splinterlands because we went from a team of just a couple people. Matt was doing a lot of the coding, but it's not really modernized, or they kept using the word tech modernization is what they're trying to do, so that as they bring on other devs, they can get, upscaling quicker. They can get people on the team that know this kind of coding already. What Matt was doing really wasn't friendly to new developers, apparently. I mean, I'm not a coder myself. I'm not a developer. So, some of that stuff was over my head, but that was essentially the explanation is, hey, we need to get some of this tech modernization out so that we can streamline things faster, get the ball rolling, and while right now it's really slow, down the road, things are going to be much quicker. So I want to get your guys' thoughts about that. First of all, does that give you more, of an insight to that? Does that help in that explanation? Does that give you more hope moving forward? Or is it just, whatever, like, cool excuse, guys, nice one, try again?
For me personally, it actually gives me hope moving forward. I feel like this is going to be very good for the future stability of Splinterlands. And people keep saying, the progress is so slow and, things keep getting pushed back. But do you guys remember where we were like 3 months ago when end of season would come around and all of the servers would catch fire? Like, we've come so far. And Baron and I were actually talking last night. They moved from something called waterfall development, I think, to agile development, where they release changes more slowly. Like they release small changes, more slowly. So it's not just a big dump of changes and then things go wrong. And there's a lot more control. And that is like the gold standard for how you're supposed to do things. So I really think that, it's okay that things are getting delayed. It's okay that they're, putting out dates to give us an idea of when it might happen. But they're not saying this is when it's going to happen. They're saying this is the general time where we think it's going to happen. The dates are flexible. You have to be flexible, I don't want them to rush land. I mean, I'm a landowner myself. I don't want them to rush land and have it suck and not be good and, just be this terrible experience because we've waited so long for it. We've spent so much money on it. I would rather wait another year and have land be amazing than, have it next month and have it be crap. That's my perspective.
Rogue, how about for you? What were your, I don't know if you watched the town hall, but what were your thoughts if you did?
I did. I was actually streaming during it, and that was, I think, side note, I don't think I'm going to try to co-stream with the town hall again. I think I'm just going to do my own thing because that was rough. I had the stream going, town hall was up, we were listening to that. Some people were talking like this, and then aggro would come on, and I was just God, I'm trying to adjust my volumes, and I'm it was
I'm
rough.
sure After Sound can give you some good recording tips. Maybe a little compression limiter work there.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, it was just trying to live stream the town hall was very rough. I think I'm just gonna do my own stream. But no, I was listening. Again, I didn't get anything. I'm actually kind of the bandwagon that they should totally start to go every other week, in my opinion. I personally I don't like the town halls without at least Nate or Matt. And I know that's hard to say, because I Splinterlands team as a whole, trust me, I love you guys, but I look to those two for my excitement or the the eye candy or the big alpha drops, and so anything else, and it's honestly it's on me. I'm just, my expectations are too high, and so I it's my fault. But in terms of the slow development, no, I don't have any issues with it because I haven't been here for, all of it. I came in during the hype and kind of watched it like come down to where it's at now. So like, I'm not in a rush, and when Aggie tells me, like when Aggie says like, look guys, when the first one comes out, it'll be like drinking from a garden hose. Like I legit, I believe that. And it's going to go so fast. Cause like, I couldn't imagine, I think After Sound, I think you were in like what, like maybe a month before stuff started to go like, or something.
I joined in August. So
yeah. So it like Untamed was still available.
No, I came in right after Untamed sold out.
Right after. Okay. Because, it was like, I couldn't imagine coming into the game at that time and being like, hey, and then watching everything skyrocket before I had what I wanted. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so when he says that, like, you're not going to have enough cards for land, you're not going to have enough, like, you don't have enough SPS staked, you don't have enough of this. I believe it. I 100% believe it. And I don't need to go rushing into that because I'm not ready. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a silver level chaos deck. That's like my next milestone is I want to be silver level chaos. I want to be like 7K SPS staked. And that'll take me a couple months now, I would say, like to get to that point. So I'm patient, 100%. But then I also do believe that like they are just getting more official. Like it's going this way because it's not just one person doing it anymore and trying to rush out things. Like I do believe that when they went down to Florida and they put the team together and said like, this is the way we're going to do things. Like as Aggie always says, how to make the sausage. Like we haven't seen the first sausage come off the line yet, but I got a feeling once it does, machine approved sausages. So like I'm not ready for that yet.
Yeah, I'm more of a bacon guy. Sorry, Rogue.
Right. Yeah. Love
after Sam, how about you? I mean, I know you're kind of on the team now. Obviously, you're mostly just with the art and lore stuff. But how have you felt more so just as a player and such, watching the development of Splinterlands these last few months?
Yeah, I mean, look, I still identify more as a player than anything. Okay, so just to from a very like high level, like my main message to people is if you believe in this game. I say this with all love, but no matter how much complaining you do on any and all channels, you're not going to make things go faster, right? So if you do believe in the future of the game, you do believe that once these things are live, that things will start to turn around, then stop complaining and just start taking advantage of the situation that we have right now. As Rogue was saying, like, if you don't think we're going to have enough for everybody in the future, then do whatever you can right now to accumulate all the different assets, to level up your deck, to get to whatever thing you're trying to get to, because it will be so funny to see if the general sentiment changes in 2, 3, 4 months, where it's just like, oh, like I wish I'd had more time, right? And everybody now is complaining about all these delays, and if all of a sudden it's just like, oh, I didn't expect this to happen, I didn't expect prices to 3-4x overnight, like I'm not ready for this yet. It'll just be so ironic if that happens again. I'm not saying that
happen.
I'm not saying it'll happen in this time frame, but I genuinely believe that we can get there in the future. The thing is, like, to go back to the tech modernization part, I think it's important. I think it's necessary. I will say that I do believe that the way that it was presented to us and the timelines we were given, the deadlines weren't hit. So from a community perspective, I think everybody is well within the right to feel frustrated. So I'm trying to empathize with folks there. I'm also trying to understand from the team's perspective that, like, when you do something and you solve a problem, you realize that in order to solve that problem, you got to solve like 2 more before it, right? And the fact that they've grown rapidly, there's a lot of new people on the team. Like the best situation that we could have been in, the best solution would have been to clone Matt, right? But that's not, well, it's not legal, or I don't know.
Might be possible. We're not
Might
sure.
be possible. I don't know if it's legal.
Enough money,
Legal. But the best solution would have been to clone Matt. But since we can't do that, they brought in a lot of other really talented folks who, and I don't know. Matt's the one who said this on one of the town halls. Like, I'm not a coder, but I can understand what he was trying to say, where it's just like, you kind of do things the way that it makes sense to you. even if it's not the most efficient or if it's not standardized. So now a lot of that is like translating mat code to standardized code so that anybody who has like, I'm just going to C++, Java. I'm just throwing out terms out there to make it sound like I know what I'm talking about. But like C++, like people who have that kind of coding knowledge and language, like they can come in and just plug and play and be like, okay, I can look at this code, I can understand what's going on, and I don't need to talk to Matt and have him walk me through it. So there's a lot of value in that. And the fire hose analogy which Rogue brought up, like, I think that's Aggie probably getting a little bit of a rally there. I don't know that we're going to see a fire hose moment, but I can definitely see once things are firing on all cylinders, we'll start to get things in a more timely manner, and more so actually they'll start hitting the deadlines that they put out there. Because right now I think they just had so many ideas, so many things that they wanted to get to, and it's great because they're sharing all this with us, but I don't think that they had the resources, and then when they got the resources, they didn't realize that the resources needed like X amount more time to get these things done.
Yeah, and I like what you're saying there of putting on both hats. You have the community hat on and you say, okay, well, you guys did say modernly, like at the start of the year, it's May, like, whoa. We don't even have a date for it. Technically, you guys keep saying next month. Let's.
I just want modern before 2023. That's all I ask. Modern before 2023.
So I agree. Like we should empathize with those who are feeling frustrated, because in some sense I'm feeling frustrated as well. But then as you put on the team hat, as you said, and of course I'm not on the team. I don't know all the backstory and all the background conversations they're having. But from the outside, what it looks like happened was the game blew up exponentially. They were not ready for that. It went from an indie game to hiring almost, I don't know at what level you qualify AAA, how many employees, but they're getting close-ish. I mean, they're like almost, I don't know, full-time employees, but total employees like over 100 now. Mm-hmm. And I think what they had in mind was, here's the dates we are going to hit with the team before this. And now that we hired so many people, I think they needed to realize, oh, we got to hit the brakes. We got to get the systems in place. We got to update everything. We got to get the tech modernization out. And I don't think it was like, we're trying to put out dates that we aren't going to hit. Of course, they would never do that, right? That's just stupid business. But I think they just didn't realize how much time it was going to take for these things to really get streamlined. And so it wasn't necessarily a false promise, but maybe misinformed, or maybe they weren't clearly seeing what was ahead for the next few months in Splinterlands and how long it would take. So maybe you can blame them for not seeing far ahead enough into the future to make these changes. But I don't get this sentiment that other people are saying of, oh, I can't trust the team now because they're not hitting these dates. And that's where I disagree, I guess, with some of the people in the community. It's like, I'm writing off the whole team because they haven't delivered.
Yeah, so. I agree with you on that. As somebody who is married to somebody who works in the IT fields, I can definitely empathize with the team. Like when you're working with development and, IT stuff, whatever. It just takes time. It takes longer than you expect it to take. And I think what happened, and this is just, me, what's the word? The word's escaping me. This is just me thinking like what the problem might be. I think what happened is they hired people and they thought, okay, well, now that we have more people, we can go faster. But like 9 women can't make a baby in 1 month. There's that old saying, it still takes 9 months to make a baby. And, I think that they just didn't get the dates right. And it's not that they're, trying to be deceitful or anything like that. I think it was just a little bit overly optimistic, and there were setbacks, and that happens. That happens in the tech world, and, you just have to deal with it.
Yeah. I want to get you guys' thoughts, because in the town hall, there was a question like this, and I also took this quote from a Peaked post. That I think it's really interesting that people are saying, like this quote, Splinterlands seems to always throw out big hope to players and keep consuming players' patience with endless postpones. And it's like this idea that people want Splinterlands to be less transparent or talk about things less. And you can see even Aggro talk about this in the town hall. He's like, dude, we want to be open as possible. We want to have here on every week, even if there is a delay. I'd rather say it than try to hide things behind the curtain so that you guys don't know. So What is your guys' perspective? What would you rather see the team do? Do you like the fact that they're so transparent even with postponing things, or would you rather, kind of as you're saying, Rogue, move to a slower pace, maybe talk about everything once in a while, and give a little more space in between? What's your guys' preference?
I love the transparency. I love it. Like it. I don't know. I'm used to it because, when Baron goes to work sometimes and he's working late, it's like, well, how long are you going to be? Oh, another hour or two. And then it ends up being 6 hours, So like, I'm used to that. So I appreciate knowing, that they're working on things, that, they have deadlines for themselves. I think the transparency is great, and we should trust them because they're so transparent. They're not hiding things from us, Yeah, that's my perspective on it.
How about yourself, Rogue? How do you feel about their... I know you already mentioned I would rather see maybe a town hall every other week. Is that...
Yeah, I wouldn't mind a town hall every other week, because the transparency is one thing. I don't like repeating the same thing over and over and over again. That's what drives me nuts. Tell me once, I'm listening. You know what I mean? If I wasn't listening, I'll read the recap. But people ask the same question every single week, and that's why when they came out with the roadmap, they were like, "Look, we don't have to ask the same question every time." But no, they still do.
But people still do.
Yeah, and so honestly, that drives me nuts because I feel like the town halls are a lot of just repeating themselves, and they already said it once. I established the faith that it's going to get done. And then I don't need the same story every single week. I don't need to be reminded that it's a process. It takes time, that's the annoying part, is the fact that they feel like and this is my message to the company. You don't have to come out every single week and be like, it takes time. It takes time. You don't have to do just every 2 weeks,
I wouldn't mind it every month. Every month would be plenty.
Just let's go alpha. Let's go 3 hours alpha month. Let's go Matt, Nate, just go, everybody.
Yeah. Well, I think after Sound, didn't you say that in the Discord? You made a nice observation of the team seems to be putting out one big announcement every month. I don't remember all the ones that you listed, but your prediction was, hey, each month we're probably going to see this, this, and this. Is that kind of how you see the team working with these town halls? One big announcement a month?
Well, I think I was saying that it seems like they're doing one major update a month. But in terms of announcements, so to Rogue's point, where I can see it going to bi-weekly, because it sounds like the two major things that they're going to be anchoring is Matt coming on once a month and then Hardpoint coming on once a month to do roadmap updates. And so I'm like, okay, that makes sense if they're on twice a month or every other week to go over those. But I like it. I like having it every week. It's kind of nice. And if you look back in history, before October of last year, when they were rebranded to town halls, they were called AMAs, where a majority of the time people would just come on and ask questions, and Aggroed or the team would talk through them. Most of the time it was just Aggroed back then too, just talking through and answering all the questions. And to be fair, to Rogue's point, a lot of the questions are probably repeated and still the same. But now what's happened is, because the town halls are very corporate structured, it's the first hour is all these official updates by the team, and they feel the need to fill that with some kind of presentation. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'll admit the last couple of weeks after you get something like Matt coming on or Hardpoint coming on, no offense to anybody else who's coming on, but it's one of those things where people want new information. And so when you take that time to talk about well, here's where we've come, right? For me, I don't mind hearing that, because I enjoy it. But for most folks who are either casual or just trying to get some information, quick and easy, they're going to be okay, there's nothing new. This is just a behind the scenes. It's not even a cool behind the scenes. It's literally a narrated behind the scenes of why things aren't happening at the speed we want them to happen. Right. So I can understand the frustration over the last couple of ones. I would like for them to continue it at once a week pace. But at the same time, I don't want them to feel the need to just fill up time to fill up time. If it only needs to be an hour, then that's great, right? Do 30 minutes of whatever you need to present, and then 30 minutes of Q&A. But it's I like the transparency. I like the fact that they bring this stuff up. I wouldn't want them to hold stuff until much later or much closer to release. At that point, I could see the opposite sentiment happening in the community, where it's just like, oh, okay, now all of a sudden there's like inside information, right? Especially when you have a team of 100 people, 100 people who have, access to all this stuff ahead of time. I don't know. It just wouldn't be good.
You want a side rant on that one? Like, that's already kind of been brought up. Like, they're already like, I don't think anybody on the team should own assets. It's like, oh, are you kidding? Like, bro, like, do you not know what project this is? Like, this isn't like Wall Street, man. Yeah, I want all these gamers not to play or be involved in the game. I want them to develop for me. I'm like, oh, dude, guys, no, that's not the ask. That's not the ask.
Somebody was getting on Bulldog about that recently.
Oh my god! I was like, bro,
really? They were talking about how he had some inside information about SPS, that it was going to go up or something, but he was on vacation.
They've been telling us it's going up.
He was on vacation or something, and I guess he heard the news too late and made a trade and ended up losing a little bit of money. But they, these people that were on him about this, it's like they were accusing him of insider trading, and he wasn't doing anything wrong. So I think people are just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's Bulldog is the whole problem with Splinterlands. All the insider trading. He controls the entire market. In case you guys didn't know, right? He affects DEC price, SPS price.
Let's be real. Jarvie actually brings up a really good point here. The counter argument is like, and that might have been alpha information for me last town hall. I didn't realize Weirdbeard didn't have cards.
Mm-hmm. Neither did I.
That was that new information for everybody else?
Well, not just no cards, but no assets, no SPS or nothing.
The tournament director doesn't there's your mirror, right? There's your opposite, is you have an employee that has nothing. And how does that make you feel? Because me personally, I'm like, wait, what? Like,
well, I mean, let's be real. He can play on other people's accounts. He can understand the game. It doesn't mean he has to own it.
No, I'm not saying he's not qualified. I'm just like, that's weird.
I mean, the argument is, I think the reason why, right, is if someone is seeing him with the cards and see his deck and you're like, oh, you're the tournament TO, you're literally just catering tournaments so that you can enter and win, whatever. I mean, I guess he could just not play in tournaments, but I think it's just a extra precaution. But going back to what you're saying after Sound, I definitely agree with what you're saying. I think it feels like maybe the town halls have become a little bit stale because there isn't any new information, and they could just condense it down a little bit, because we're talking about 2 hours every single week. That's a lot for people. I mean, I don't even show up anymore. I just watch it 2x speed afterwards, because I don't have time anymore to sit down for 2 hours to listen to this whole thing. And someone made this comment. I'll make it a bit more PG than the way they said it, but they said essentially that sometimes it feels like they're just getting on there to go and high five and praise each other, and that's really all it is, because they're bringing on different team members and saying good job, you're awesome. And I feel like last week or a couple days ago, the really interesting conversation was between Bulldog and Aggro, because that one didn't feel like a high five moment. Not that it was bad, but I actually liked that they had some maybe a little controversial talking in there. So I would rather see more of that than, hey, we need to meet and greet literally every single employee, repeat the same thing over and over, as you're saying, Rogue and Luthien. It's like, okay, I think we get it. Come on for the big announcements, or just condense them down a little bit. We don't need 2 hours of the same thing every single week.
Mm-hmm.
Well, any other thoughts on that? Anyone want to throw in anything else before we move on?
I will say one thing just as a counterpoint, and this is not for me, but there's definitely a lot of like hardworking people there, and people who are putting in a lot of time. So part of the high-fiving I'm okay with, because I'm sure a lot of it is just recognizing the hard work that people are putting in. So sure, we get to see it publicly, but I wonder, and I'm actually somewhat positive that people who are feeling overworked and potentially underpaid probably just appreciate the fact that like they get public adulation from the bosses. So again, I'm not saying that for me or that I would want that, but if that's if that's the idea and it's just helping like morale in the background, because it sounds like there was just fire after fire to put out after August of last year. So, if it's just recognizing some of the work, I'm okay with it. Does that mean I want to hear it every week? No, but and I understand for the people who don't. But I can understand the value that it provides.
And to be fair, as Agrod as the CEO, that's probably his actual only conversation with that employee that week, right? He's not sitting down with every single employee, I'm sure, every single day and getting a chance to talk to them. Because it felt like Bulldog and him talking was like, this may have been the first time they've been talking about this discussion and they're doing it here live, which is really interesting to watch that interaction between the two.
We should talk about that more, because I think that was a really telling. I think that was a really telling discussion. There were a lot of different things that I gathered from that. One, I mean, the main one being the fact that like Agrod was like really going heavy into it and like not pulling any punches, and neither was Bulldog. So I actually appreciated both of them and how they were like managing it. But the second thing, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I wonder if the team has grown so much that Agrod or Aggie is somewhat disconnected from a lot of other things, where now that they have people to fill a lot of these functions and make, big decisions, he can go back to doing what he does best. So, we're complaining about bots and all these things every week. And I don't know if that stuff necessarily reaches him. I'm sure it goes to the right people, but since he spends the most time like front facing, he's focused on selling. He's focused on trying to get the game in front of as many eyes as possible. Whereas you got the devs in the back end who are looking at all these different exploits and trying to fix them, right? So to have that conversation up front was really fascinating to me. And I think it just shows how much the company has grown as well.
From what I've heard from Bulldog, he has prior to this brought these concerns to the team, and they've said that they're working on it. But he said it seemed like Aggie hadn't heard this before, like the news had never reached him. But so that's just, the way I perceived it. Like Bulldog's been trying to get these issues addressed, but, and they're working on it. But Aggie didn't quite know the extent of the issues, I guess. And so this all happened live for everybody to see. So now Aggie is probably going to push for it to get taken care of. But, they're already working on it. So
it's this interesting dynamic, because Agrod is the front man essentially of this whole company, of the business. He's the one that's leading the town hall, making all these statements. But it feels like less and less now he's the one making the decisions. So he's been saying, we don't care about bots, like let him go, whatever. Now all of a sudden he has this conversation with Bulldog, and he's like, okay, well, let me backtrack a little bit. There shouldn't be bots that can script and rig things and, get automatic wins and have unfair advantages. So it's like, it's really interesting. I don't know, Rogue, how do you feel about Agrod being the front man and having all to say, but maybe isn't in the know of everything that's going on?
Well, honestly, I think that's how kind of the CEO should be. At the end of the day, like in a properly structured big organization, like the man on the top is pretty far separated from the floor, because he is doing, like, he's making the big money moves up there. You know what I mean? Like from the floor, it's like, all right, looking down from your ivory tower. But like when you get up there, though, like he's the one that's shaking hands. He's the one that's getting to know and making the deals that keep the business successful. You know what I mean? Like watching his stuff, he's the one that's going on the shows. He's talking, he was on the NASDAQ floor and all of this stuff. He's the one that's, talking and getting the product out there and everything. And so like when he sits on board meetings, sure, there's probably some stuff that doesn't, like the 40-hour work week of 20 people didn't get communicated to him in 100% in their 2-hour board meeting or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I'm speculating here, but like that's totally normal. And that's fine. If he wants to be the face of the company, he doesn't absolutely have to know everything. That'll drive that man nuts. He has to know the product that he's selling, and he has to believe in the team that he has working on that project. And that's really, I think, the basis. And so every time that I hear him talk in the town hall, that's exactly the vibe that I get from him. He asks essentially the devs kind of or all the people kind of the same thing of like, dude, what gets you hyped? What are you most excited about? Like, how cool is your job? And so
show me the eye candy. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so it's like, I don't know, he's cool because it's almost relatable to us in a sense of like, he's like, hey, show me, because I'm also like, I'm also learning as we go. So yeah, I don't know. I like it. I like him. I've always liked his character. I like his I like what he brings to the table. I like his presence. And so yeah, it doesn't bother me that he doesn't know like the 100%. Like I think that's actually more of a stable company that he doesn't. Especially, man, he just had a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to be focusing on like when I had my kids, like I wanted those weeks just to relax. That man's still come out and done the town hall like within weeks. Like he hasn't had paternity anything. Like he's probably still like in his picture with his baby, he was rocking a Splinterlands polo. Like the man's all about it, Yeah. So like, yeah, like he's fine. He's fine.
He's really good at what he does. He's really good at selling the company. Really, he's really good at talking to people. He has a great personality where he's bubbly and he can really engage people. And I think that's fantastic. And I don't think it would be fair to expect him to know every little thing that's going on within the company.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about the forward-facing person of any company, right? You're gonna be a splitting personality. Either people are gonna love you or hate you. There's never an in between. If I throw out, I don't know, Bill Gates or Elon Musk, do you think we're all gonna agree on our views of these top CEOs? Like, no way. I mean, that's just kind of the nature of it. So that's where I think he gets a lot of flack and a lot of hate, but he maybe gets a lot of praise as well. Probably just doesn't hear it as often. I would assume as the flame, perhaps. But after sound, any last thoughts there before we wrap up to the next conversation?
Yeah, I think it's a tough time. It's a harsh time to probably judge what he's done. So what I mean by that is we're gonna look back, and I know people are already looking. They're gonna point at Waka and say nothing really came from that. But look at Waka. Look at like the Warner Music Group deal. Look at just a lot of the other like some of the guilds that I'm sure he's had a hand in bringing in. Yeah, right now the whole market is down. It's a tough time to be in crypto, let alone just Splinterlands. But if in a year from now or 2 years from now, that Waka deal leads to, Leonardo DiCaprio making a card, right? Or some other major like A-list celebrity. If the Warner Music Group deal, leads to Splinterlands players who have assets in the game getting airdropped some stuff or benefiting from it in some way. If these guilds go on to be like major players in the Web3 gaming space, right? Like if all of these things like play out, we're going to look back and be like, oh yeah, like Aggie is the one who did that. But most people aren't going to be looking back, right? Most people are going to be like, what have you done for me lately? So I just think it's hard to like judge some of the things that are happening now because we don't really know what the long-term implications of it are. We're really just like at, what is it called? Like the hockey stick kind of shape. We're really just at that part of the curve. J curve, whatever it is. Like, so, and again, I don't know, this game could collapse tomorrow. Let's all be real. Right. But if you believe in the game, and I really do, then it seems as though we're at the beginning of something pretty awesome here.
Yeah, and like honestly, in quick answer to like the it could collapse tomorrow thing is like when looking at the stats, like before the big boom, there were 4,000 people. Like we talked about it in the last podcast and everything. I don't think those 4,000 people went anywhere, and I don't think they're going anywhere. They saw something and they were just like, "Wow, that was fun." Well, no reason to go anywhere now.
They're either playing still or they bought a private island and just have completely disconnected from the internet world.
Yeah, no, I'm totally not worried. Like even if we just go back to the way it was like when Untamed was like around, if it's still just like 6,000 dedicated people or whatever, like the game will still be great, And then when the next boom comes, yay.
Yeah, I mean,
But-
there's only a few thousand max Chaos Legion decks possible. So as Rogue said, let's push everyone else off the ship, steal their cards, take their money.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
Rogue's plan. But I want to move on.
I need a deck
I'm
for
sick-
playing. I need a deck for land.
Sick and tired of talking constantly about updates and finances and blah blah blah. We've had enough talk. I want to talk a little bit of gameplay. I want to talk about like something that actually can be done in this game right now, not just what's in the future. But I want to get a conversation because we haven't had this on the podcast. They threw out a couple very small Guild and Brawl updates about a week ago. We didn't touch on the podcast last week. So I want to get this discussion going around guilds. But first of all, are you guys in guilds right now? Like, how long have you been in guild? Where is your guild at before we start this conversation?
Yeah, so I'm in YGG, or I'm in Yield Guild Legacy. We were originally Legacy, and then we joined up with Yield Guild. Oh God, what was that? A month and a half ago, something like that. We were very small. There was only about like 5 dedicated people in that guild or whatever. And then when we joined Yield Guild, like we filled up, and we got to like the max 13 for the Brawl. Like we have 17 slots total, but we only filled up to max Brawl competition. And then when we got all filled up, like our win rate was fantastic, and we've been first or second in every single Brawl since we filled up, and it's been a fantastic journey so far. And then above just like Legacy's performance, being a part of the overall umbrella of Yield Guild has just been, oh my goodness, it's added a whole new purpose and a whole new excitement to the game, because like it's a community, right? Like every time you get into like a closer, more like-minded group of people, like the game that you're playing, or the hobby that you're involved in, becomes more and more real and more sustainable when you've surrounded yourself with people that like are also striving for the same things that you are. And so that's exactly what Yield Guild has done for us. Like we just started an achievement thing for Yield Guild specifically. And so we've got all these achievements that we can do on the side, not even like Splinter, like there's Splinterland stuff, but it's only for Yield Guild people. So like we've got an esports thing going on. So like if you notice a lot of Yield Guild people in the SPS tournaments now, it's because we're fighting for a leaderboard, right? We've got our own little internal leaderboard that we're doing for 8 weeks.
No, I love that they're in the tournaments because they're such easy wins.
Dude, yeah. Tell me about that. Tell me about that. I got a double kill on you today. I don't want to hear it. This poor guy. Like very rarely do you like notice in your tournaments where sometimes you get paired with the same dude, like in your yeah. I got paired with Luke twice today in day 2. Double kill.
So I'm making my excuses. I literally, in the midst of me making videos for Balthazar, I was like, crap, I have this tournament ending in like 2 hours. I rushed over, submitted all my matches, and when I got to Rogue, I was just like, damn it, this is not going to go well.
Got to Rogue twice.
Yeah, I saw you twice. I'm like, no, why today?
But no, it's been pretty cool because our leaderboard's been going. Like we're already like 5 days in. We've had a couple people podium already. I haven't podiumed one yet, so I'm like in 10th on our leaderboard, and I'm like sweating it already. And I'm like, Jesus, you got to get me some podium spots, and it's awesome. Plus, then we've got like Brawl participation and win rates is also one. Content creation is one, and like all of these achievements are going to like, based on how you do, like they're going to pay out in like the YGG SPL token and in the YGG token, like the actual Yield Guild token. We're getting those distributed to members. So it's like an added thing that's going on. It's just like, oh my goodness, I'm just very blessed, blessed that we
really
ended
cool
up finding
setup.
this.
I actually didn't know you guys had that going on. I mean, I've heard a little bit.
Either did I. Either did I. It was kind of like one of those things. It was like, yeah, come, like YGG, like we're pretty cool and everything. It was like, yeah, cool. And then we signed up, and then when we got in the door, they were like, yeah, so this thing's happening. And I'm like, oh, sweet. Let's go.
All right, Rogue. Enough shilling of YGG. How much are they paying you for the shilling?
Nothing yet, but when that sub down happens, let's go.
Luthien, how about yourself? Are you in a Splinterlands guild? How is that?
I am. I actually started out in the Warriors. So that was my first guild, and I spent several months there. And then, oh my God, I don't know if you know him. He's another streamer, although he hasn't been streaming recently. He recruited me to Knights United, which is I think one of the top 5 guilds or something on the guild list. Anyway, it's a great guild. It's awesome. So I'm really lucky to be there. I've learned a lot from my guild mates. There's some really great people in there, like Brybro and Fantasy Crypto. Gene Pool is in there with his alt account. So we have a really great guild, and I love it. I love it.
What tier do you guys play in?
Tier 2.
Awesome. How is it? Like, so
Wow.
we just got done with this last one. What was your payout? Like, was it better in tier 2?
I think we've been in tier 2 for a while now.
Yeah, but was it different? Because like part of the rewards change that they did with this guild launch was like they really cut some of the stuff from the top. So like us, we got first place and we only got 900 merits, which is crazy because we were getting like 13 or 1500 for wins in tier 1.
I feel like we got
cut.
less. I feel like we got less this time.
Oh, you
Although
too?
I think this time we placed 3rd because 2 of the people didn't submit their brawls.
Oh, feels bad.
Feels
That's
bad.
always the worst.
Get 'em.
It feels really bad.
Ride the
Before we
pen.
jump into specifics, I want to get after sound. Are you in a guild right now? What kind of guild are you in?
Yeah, so I just recently joined Archmage Arius's Disciples.
Nice.
And yeah,
That's
so
a good guild.
yeah, I mean it's been a lot of fun. So for the longest time, I was in a guild that I had started with someone else, and the price of DEC was just too much for us to like be
Do anything?
upgrading anything. And the thing is, like, we were trying to do something for like newer players, so we never charged any like fees. Or we never got to a point where we were charging fees regularly. So what I've essentially done is like I took my main account, I joined Archmage Arius after getting an invite from there, and my alt account, which is playing in silver, is now kind of running that. Although, unfortunately, it's just there's not much activity, and I'll need to go back. But I'm hoping that once we get to the end of the airdrop and DEC goes back to its peg, it'll make more sense to upgrade a lot of the different buildings there. But I don't know, man. I love the whole guild system and Brawl specifically. I've only played in maybe 3 or 4 Brawls so far, but it's been a lot of fun. And as Rogue was saying, like there's these sub communities that build in them, and now like all of a sudden, if I didn't have enough people to talk to and enough Discord servers to be part of, now I'm part of this too, and it's good to like. Not just chat Splinterlands, but also a lot of strategy and like, hey, I'm going to take this raid. Does anybody have any extra gold wheel cards or this and that, right? So I like the team element of it. And if you go into the Mav chat, I've never spoken with this person directly, but there's someone in the Mav chat. I hope I'm crediting the right person, but Jens in the Mav chat said something a while back that has stuck with me. And it was about guilds, and he was essentially saying like imagine guilds and the top guilds in the future essentially being like the NBA, right? Because Splinterlands as it stands, the main gameplay is very it's a very solo effort, right? Like you're just playing, you go into these tournaments or you play ranked battles. So guilds are the closest thing that we're going to have to like team elements, and if they really try to expand on that, like doing things with other like team members, right? People who are part of your guild. So if there's a focus on this in the future and potential, there's going to be SPS that's going to be given out for Brawl rewards, but I'm talking like further down the line where you have sponsors come in, just like you have sponsors for every major sport and esport, sponsors coming in and saying like, hey, we're going to run a league, or we're going to run like a tournament of Brawls, and there's going to be potentially some real money in there. Well, now all of a sudden, all these guilds are going to be trying to recruit top players and really get themselves to the highest level. So I thought that was a really interesting, like long-term outlook on guilds. And it made me happy that I feel like I'm in a guild where, it's a lot of people who are taking the game seriously. So it's just nice to be around. Oh, he ditched the hat.
Sorry, I was laughing. Sorry, because someone asked, is Rogue bald? And as I was responding, I said,
Wow.
hair
Full
reveal
circle.
if you donate 10k DEC.
Oh,
and then Rogue
crap.
just takes
Sorry,
off his
bro.
hat. You ruined my whole donation, man.
Dead serious. Got a lot of pride in my hair. All right, my stylist says I have the thickest hair, and I haven't lost any of it yet, and so I'm very grateful. So I will absolutely rep it. I keep it nice and tight. We're good.
Just
I need to know
about
what
to
kind,
get paid.
what kind of hats do you wear that makes your hair thicker instead of thinner? I need that.
All baseball, baby. Just take a little bit off the diamond, put it in the hat.
Oh my
There you
It's
go.
all good.
gosh.
It's the fertilizer. It's the fertilizer they use on the infield that
Yikes.
just
Okay.
works.
All right. Interesting. I don't want to picture that one. I do, going back, if I try to remember what After Sign was saying, I do agree that I think, the guild is the first experience in Splinterlands where it feels like, oh, this is a multiplayer thing. This is a community effort. I can make friends in it. I can have fun. It's not just me playing as an individual. And I think it's really engaging once you've gotten into the game to get in the guild and have community around it, which is why I think it's important to maybe workshop some things. What do you guys think about Brawls? How can we improve them? To the team's credit, they said we want to make some changes. We just don't have the resources right now. Even Weirdbeard is like, yeah, I've mostly focused on tournaments, but I want to get, started on guilds as well. And Weirdbeard's here in the chat. So any feedback here right now, I want to get you guys' feelings towards Brawls. Make Weirdbeard do it. Let's go. What do you guys have for me?
All right, I can go first. So, all right. In my personal opinion, tiers 1 through 5 are not properly distributed for what the player base actually is. When we were looking at tier 2, the amount of people that have to play in gold to be a competitive tier 2 guild, I don't think is proportional to what the current player base is. You know what I mean? If the majority of your players are in silver, having tier 2 of 5 tiers requiring that many people to play in gold doesn't make sense. What is my guild specifically? We've got we average silver, right? So that's one of the things we're looking, and we're okay, if we wanted to go to tier 2, because it seems like that's where the company wants us to go, we don't have the players to do that. You know what I mean? We don't have the right 17 players to do it. So my argument is why isn't tier 1 more novice and bronze, tier 2 novice, bronze, silver, maybe even get rid of novice in tier 2, all right, and more bronze, silver, sprinkle in your gold stuff, right, because that's fun. Alpha beta is rentable, so this is all obvious. But in my opinion right now, what does tier 5 even look like? Has anybody gone there? Tier 3 is the max that I've seen anybody go, and nobody goes there because
every fray is gold foil max legendary alpha beta cards.
Yeah, and so I'm trying to think, what is that? Biz Kitty playing with himself? No, you know what I mean? That's what I mean. Is it's not proportional to the player base. If you want there, if I was new to it, right, and I was coming in, the fact that everybody's playing in tier 1 makes no sense when theoretically a town hall 1 or not a town guild hall 1 is playing in tier 1, and they should be 15 new players. You know what I mean? So that's number 1, and number 2, we have to have a way to practice. 100%. That's been my biggest argument with this game, especially if we're going to be competitive. If you're going to have an esports aspect, if we're going to really be competitive and treat this game right, we have to have an arena to practice. You don't go to League of Legends Worlds having your only tournament experience being live tournaments. You know what I mean? And nobody can go out and say oh, you can practice in ranked. No, you can't. None of our tournaments are the same format as ranked. You know what I mean? All of our tournaments are chaos only. How are you going to practice chaos only without going and doing chaos only tournaments? You know what I mean? But the tournament's supposed to be the highest level of play. And then you also want to get your guilds involved. That's the number 1 aspect. If you're I should be able to go to my guild and be hey, bro, I've got an hour. Let's grind out some matches in this. Let it auto-generate chaos only for an hour while I'm with my guildmate while we figure out the meta. You know what I mean? I have to figure this out on the fly in SPS tournaments. And I think that's not real. If you want competitive, if you want people that go above and beyond in this game, they have to have a realm to practice. There's my soapbox.
Yeah. For me, I don't have to practice because I'm in wild format. All you got to do is hit rent on the Jotun button. You're good to go. Win every match. A little bit of Bloodlust Gladius cards. You're good to go. But Luthien, how about you? How do you feel about guilds right now? Is there anything that you would want to see changed?
You know what? Rogue said exactly what I'm feeling like about the practice. I want to be able to practice, especially with the gladiator cards. Like, you don't really know how to use a card until you practice using it. And to practice it in the brawl is just, I don't know, it can be risky. You know, I want a way to be able to practice using this new card that I got without running the risk of losing my battle, you know, and letting my guild down. The other thing I wanted to speak to was Rogue brought up a really good point with the what are they called? It's the stars, like the
Tears.
what are they called? Tears. Yeah, tears. I couldn't think of the name. So, like, for instance, Immortal Gods is in tier 2. Like, why? You know, same with my guild. Like, we're in tier 2.
Yeah.
Why? We have most of our players are champion level players.
Exactly.
Like, we average diamond and champion level players. Like, I don't think we even accept people who aren't in diamond or champion. So why are we in tier 2? And Baron just joined Yield Guild Dragons, and they're also in tier 2, and I witnessed them getting absolutely demolished by Immortal Gods, among other guilds that that were in the same round. So I just don't think that's right. I feel like tier 1 should be more, novice and bronze and maybe some silver, and then tier 2 silver and gold, and then tier 3 is diamonds, and there needs to be it needs to be more spread out, not just everybody within 2 tiers. There's 5 tiers for a reason, right? So, like, we need to move up.
Yeah. After Sound, how about you? What would you change about how guilds work right now?
I feel like I am not experienced enough to say anything intelligent about it right now, because the suggestions from Luthien and Rogue, like, this stuff that wasn't even like I wasn't even thinking about it. So
that's okay. Give us your unintelligent take. I want to hear it.
Oh gosh, unintelligent take. Okay, so this is not necessarily from like Brawl perspective, but I would like for the communication to be better inside guilds. And it needs to be, if this is going to create some kind of team dynamic, and I know others have said this already, but it just feels like there needs to be a more cohesive and collaborative way to go about, connecting and to Rogue's point, like practicing with your team. To me, like, I hadn't even thought about that, because my immediate thought was, oh, well, you can just challenge them. Well, no, you can't challenge someone with like a chaos only or a modern format only type of thing, right? So like, or even like specific rule sets. So that being something that opens up where it's just like, hey, like, our guild had really performance with poison rule sets. Why don't we all get in and, like, everybody do a couple of battles with each other so we can kind of learn the meta better. We can all then, take some time, review game tape and film and see, like, what are different things we could have done. Like, again, not every guild is going to be doing that, but as guilds get more competitive because rewards potentially become bigger and more lucrative, you're going to have that kind of like collaboration within at least some of the guilds. And I think more importantly, whether or not you have it, is to create a space for it to happen, for the places, that it would happen.
Yeah, the tavern sucks. The tavern sucks.
Yeah.
Everybody's on Discord. Everybody's guild has a Discord because the tavern is just terrible. It's a terrible way to
There's no
communicate.
beer there. It's not even a tavern.
I know, right?
Like, what the heck?
Yep. Yeah, and to that point, it's like this. You're right. Not every guild is going to do that, but the guilds that are going to be the ones that add the most entertainment value to the game, because you don't watch League of Legends to watch everybody play League of Legends. You watch the top teams do it because they have studied, they understand, and they can bring a level of competition to the game that doesn't happen on the leaderboard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's good for the audience. You know what I mean? So you need your teams that are going to be on these stages doing these tournaments. You know, you need them to be fully versed in the game that they are playing. In order to be fully versed in the game you're playing, you have to be able to practice. And that's what, that's going to be a hard concept for a lot of people in this space. Like in the world I came from, that was common sense. Like if you're playing a game, you have to be able to practice. In play to earn, everyone's going to be like, wait, what? You want to spend an hour not earning crypto? Like, who are you? You know what I mean? Well, yeah, I want to be the best at this game. And you know what? I'll take an hour sacrifice of my DEC to do it. You know what I mean? So like, I understand why that doesn't exist right now. I'm just saying if the esports is going to go in the direction they need it to or want it to, that's where we have to go.
Yeah. And I get excited when Weirdbeard starts talking about in the town hall, like one day it'd be awesome to have this like tag team match. And I'm like, dude, that would be sick. And, you know, to see guild battles. And as you're saying, Rogue, for esports, I don't want to watch Rogue. That's boring. Like, whatever. Rogue's cool. But, you know, you throw in Rogue in YGG tag team match versus Immortal Gods. Like, now I can get behind a team, a brand, a logo, all those things. That makes it much more entertaining to actually tune in and root for an entity, not just Rogue by himself.
Yeah, and imagine going and watching Pacific Rim and watching two pilots that have never flown together. How entertaining would that movie have been? All right, for those of you that don't know the reference, they're giant mega machines, and they're piloted by two people that need to work together and know each other inside and out in order to win. So that was kind of the reference there. I realized that might have fallen flat here.
I saw just enough of that movie to get the reference.
Perfect.
Got to practice,
No one
baby.
else knows what Rogue is talking about, but what's new? What's new? Well, I want to get a different take. Here's my take, and I want to hear you guys' thoughts on it. Because one of the things I see as a problem right now for guilds, kind of like you, Rogue, like we're mostly a guild of the Krills, the silver players, a lot of bronze. We have maybe one or two players for gold foil cards that we had to go specifically look for because we didn't have anyone with gold foil cards. And I feel like the guild buildings, the DEC requirement is just astronomical amounts. And I'm not even talking about like the level 9, here's 750,000 DEC to go from level 8 to 9 or whatever the ridiculous amount is. I'm just even talking about level 2 to level 3 is 30,000 DEC for these buildings. And I felt like in the beginning it was so much fun. We're, you know, upgrading things with ease. You know, we got to unlock the shop, we got to unlock the cards, and it built all this excitement. And now we're at a point where we hit level 2 buildings. We're trying to go for level 3, and it's 30,000 DEC. And for most players, when you have 17 Krills, we're donating 100 DEC a week for everyone. So we're talking about 1,700 DEC. That's what, like, I don't even know how many weeks, 20 weeks before we can even have the DEC to upgrade our, you know, arena from level 2 to level 3. So it feels like all these crowns we're winning is like, who cares? It's like almost like the first couple of wins are like, sweet, this is awesome. We're getting crowns, we're getting merits. And now it's like, sweet, well, we won this week. Congrats, everyone. Good job. Guess what? We have more crowns. What are we going to do with them? Nothing for another 20 weeks. We just stacking them up with nothing to do. So I'm wondering if there's something that they can add to give us, like, I don't know, you can spend some of your crowns to cut down some of the DEC costs. I don't know. It's going to make it really hard and unfair to older guilds that have already made those payments. So I feel like it's in a really tricky situation. But I just feel like unless you have massive players that are earning tons of DEC each week, it got stale, honestly, within about 6 weeks since we started. I want to say maybe 2 months now. I don't know if anyone else has had that experience with their guild. That's where I'm at.
We did when DEC was super expensive, but now like and I understand like from the Krill's perspective, but like you know, like realistically 30K or 30,000 DEC at PEG is going to be like $2 each for a 15-person guild. You know what I mean? And so like blogging will do that. You know, now that we're going to PEG, this is actually a lot more reasonable. And you kind of look at the guilds and you're like, that's the kind of sync that you want. You want a DEC sync like that. But we got to a point where like, oh, it was way too expensive to be doing any of that. You were like, I'm not like syncing any of my DEC. Is like 15 above PEG. Let's go. You know? So I think once we go back to Peg, I don't think we're going to see this issue too much anymore.
Yeah,
I got a feeling.
And maybe I think one thing that could change that is if you're actually getting SPS from your brawls, right? That's incentive to put money in. Right now, it feels so bad to ask people, hey, you only have a bronze level deck, or maybe not even a bronze level Chaos Legion deck, but hey, instead of buying cards with that DEC, put it in towards our guild. What do you get out of it? Some Gladius cards you can't play with in the
Free
rest of the
CP,
game.
baby.
That's free power, CP. Right? That probably won't even count towards modern power. So, like, really, is it free CP once modern comes out? So, I guess maybe when SPS comes out, maybe that's incentive to actually start building more. But it's hard right now.
It'll make more sense because then people who are participating in guilds will be earning something that they can go ahead and like put back in, right? So it's just like, hey, if we earn X amount, like put in a certain percentage. So, but I don't know. I mean, I'm of the camp that we're going to go not just back to the peg, but probably well below the peg for a little while. When that happens,
we need to sync.
Yeah. Like, I think at that point, it's going to be a perfect time to like focus on leveling up guilds. The problem is when we go down that low, the rewards from, playing the game are going to be pretty much non-existent. So it will still need to come from like outside capital or people selling their cards and their rewards. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be a tricky couple of months, but that'll be a time where if you can upgrade your guild, that would be probably the best time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Luthien, how about you? Do you see yourself in a world like Rogue is saying with these guild battles? Would you want to be up on Splinterfest stage?
Absolutely.
Immortal Gods versus YGG. Is that something you're into?
Absolutely. Like, that would be absolutely amazing. And I can't wait for that.
Yeah, dead serious. Like I dream about this often, guys. Like dead serious. Like I really want this. Like I'm thinking about Vegas. I'm thinking about Splinterfest. I'm thinking about these things and like exactly what tournaments are going to look like. I've literally thought about it to the point of like, I was like, man, I really don't want to pack up my laptop and go do this tournament. I'm like, I really hope they have virtual machines at this point. And if I've made it into this tournament, I hope I just get to play with every card at max level because like I've qualified for the tournament and I don't want my Hive account. Like, I don't want to be using my laptop on like a public Wi-Fi to have access to my stuff. Like, I was just like, man, if I make the tournament, I hope they have it set up on a virtual machine and I could just have access and it could just be like no risk to my account. That would be wonderful. Number one. Two, I totally see like stand-up touch screens and everything facing each other, right? I see big screens. I see like a voice, like when the thing is announced, like it's like I don't know, it's like Little League, Noxious Fumes, 45, go. And then like all of a sudden After Sounds playing his bard music for 3 minutes while we're picking our teams. And then like once teams are submitted, it's like ready. Fight, and then it goes like on the main screen and everything, and we both watch it play out live. And like, dude, like dead serious. I see it like a poker tournament where there's like a bunch of stations like that where you're playing with people like tables in a trading card game, but like there is a main table. There's like the number one table, and the number one table has all the aesthetics, has all the light, has the commentators for Twitch, has everything going on up there. Like it has the stadium seating. It's like this is where I see everything going. Not to take any ideas from any of the team, just saying. That'd be cool.
Do you guys think Splinterlands as a team, I mean, moving from guilds beyond kind of as we're talking about esports and tournaments, do you guys feel like they're set up is this a game that is going to be able to potentially compete? I mean, I guess the biggest thing to compare it to is Hearthstone, and they have a pretty big following, but I don't really watch card game esports, if I'm being honest. I don't know if any of you guys do.
I watch Splinterlands esports.
There you go.
I have.
You play in it. You're on the fame machine.
I play in it. Yeah.
I think once the presentation is done, and Weirdbeard has talked about this previously about like getting like a streamer mode. That's going to be a lot of fun where you don't know the winners beforehand and you go in because like a lot of times, I mean, I get hyped watching the games, right? And then like I rage when my guy, of course, misses and and I'm getting backfired on times when I shouldn't get backfired. So I think there could be some really cool elements to the presentation. Like right now it's very basic, but if it's done in a way where, you know, both large scale and online, like in person and online, I don't know. It could be a lot of fun to watch. And the thing is, like, I don't watch a lot of MTG or Hearthstone, but I don't play those games either. Like if this was done in a way where it's like entertaining and there was like a big like show of it every week or something, like I'd probably be tuning into that because I'd want to see like, okay, how are the top players handling this? Like what are some of the exciting battles? And I can definitely see it taking on a life of its own at some point. But I say that knowing full well that we're probably years away from that, at least to the full implementation.
Yeah, years away from Rogue kicking my butt 2-0 and that being live on camera. Out of curiosity, I did just YouTube it though. Hearthstone Esports, 100,000 subscribers, and they have one of their finals at 600,000 views. So Weirdbeard, if you're out there, it's what we're shooting for, right?
It's where it's at. But like, and I think one of the biggest things that Splinterlands doesn't have right now is the aesthetics. We've talked about that before. But then too, it doesn't have the interaction with your opponent. Really, there's just the one mind game in the very beginning, and that's it. Like, and it's just kind of set it and go. And I think once spells or items end up getting introduced after lands, we might get to a point where we have something that is more of an interaction. But I do believe that with just what we have at this point, with good commentators and a little bit of like aesthetics, I think you can absolutely present something that is really cool. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm really excited for the items as well, because casting for Zen Sports and Community Gaming now, I can tell you, there are some cool moments of like, oh, this person outplayed that person, but I'm guessing what they're thinking. I don't even actually know if they outplayed them or just got lucky. But if you can see the two boards being set up and then you get to see what their item or spells played to maybe like, oh, it should have been obvious that they played this, but instead they knew that person was going to play that. So they played this instead. And like the reverse psychology, you'll actually get to see live, which I think will be a lot more hype for things like esports and tournaments. So I agree. I think that added element, even though we're not going to see that for another year now, I think that will make them even more hype. Not that you can't commentate on them. I mean, I really enjoy the tournaments I've been able to be a part of. It's a lot of fun. Rogue, we'll have to get you out there on one of them sometimes. If you're playing all these tournaments, you got to start casting too.
It's true. It's true.
But anyways, we got to wrap up here today. Thank you guys so much for being on. I'm going to give you guys one at a time here to sign off, shout out anything you want to shout out. So Luthien, starting with you first, anything you want to shout out, and where can people follow along in your Splinterlands journey?
You can catch me on Twitch Saturday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Splinterlands TV channel. Sometimes I stream on my own channel. You're welcome to follow me there too. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has really been a lot of fun.
What's your channel name?
You should
Splinterlands TV. Duh.
Well, yeah, I'm on
No, her
Splinterlands
personal
TV,
one.
My personal one is Luthien1289.
There you go.
So,
Does the 1289 have any meaning?
Well, my birthday's February 12th.
Okay, you don't have to go any further. It's fine. Yeah, you could have just said no. I
mean. Nice.
Sorry about that. Moving on. Thanks, thank you, Luthien, for being here. Much appreciation. Rogue, how about yourself? Anything you want to shout out?
No, Weirdbeard, call me. That's really about it. But no, I'm on Hive. I'm Rogue Patton. I only got the one account. You'll see me on 3Speak. You'll see me on Peak D, and you'll see me in the game. But that's my identity. That's where I'm at. So, hit me up, play me.
And on Twitch. You're over there on Twitch.
Oh yeah. I stream on Splinterlands TV Mondays from 9 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern, and then occasionally, like if I'm really feeling like if my kids are sleeping really nice in a nap, and I get a minute, like I'll jump on stream on my own channel. It's twitch.tv/roguesguild. I'll jump in there. That's my that was my competitive. It was my Force of Will team. So we used to stream there. So
jump in his live streams and try to distract him while he faces me in tournaments.
Can't do it.
Mess him up. throw him off his game so I can beat him. All right. Well, thanks for coming on After Sound. Anything you want to shout out? Where can people find you?
Just on YouTube here, just After Sound Gaming. So yeah, just I post content a lot because I'm not lying.
Algorithms are helping.
I literally think about this. Like I can't tell you how many times I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'm just feel like, oh, that's a cool idea. I should make a video about it when I wake up.
Do you dream in Splinterlands?
Do I dream in Splinterlands? I haven't yet, but man, that'd be kind of cool. Actually, I'd be kind of terrified to meet Queen Mycelia in a dream. She looks a little
dude, right?
A little too freaky for me.
You should start titling your videos. You should start titling your videos Dream Journal. Dream Journal, February 16th.
No, but Luke, thank you for having me on. Thank you for having us on, guys. It's weird. Like I feel like I've gotten to know so many of you through like different mediums, but to actually chat was a blast.
Yeah. Well, glad that you guys can make it tonight. Chat, thank you guys so much for watching along, and for anyone listening on the podcast platforms, go give us a 10-star rating out of 5 because, you know, we're just that awesome. I don't know. For now, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out. Paul Adios, everyone.